before we actually start playing, I want to go over what the different advantages on the tech that people currently have are, and what their advantages as players are, and some of the players' notes. Well, I'll go over that because it'll help me internalize the information, and it'll give you guys some clue. So first up here, spacesuits. This allows crew exploration. No, it doesn't allow. It gives a +1 to crewed exploration. I had not been paying attention to that and had forgotten about that one. Hadn't noticed it. Good thing I'm looking at these. This one's a big one. It allows crewed vehicles to go to the moon and the near-Earth asteroids, and then the U.S. has that, as well as this advanced aerodynamics, which allows the crew vehicle range to be 1, which means essentially the North Americans can go to Venus or Mars. Okay. Ion engines, heliocentric transfers times 0.9. That's a multiplier on here, and it can reduce the cost of traveling in terms of time. Crew vehicles. This allows you to build CV2 and CV3, and 4 countries have that. Launch vehicles, reusable launch vehicles. The U.S. player can recover their LVs on a decent roll. And finally, attack values in space combat are allowed to fire for the US and the Russians. No one else has militarized any of their equipment. What about policies? An extra politics marker during the economic phase. You can declare embargoes, and it gives a +20% to the initiative roll for the Chinese. Crew vehicles support limit +1. The Russians have CV2. They can go up to 3 in actuality. Hard to remember. It would be, I don't know. I really wish this card contained more, I don't know. I really wish there was something that you could track all the information on that was kind of part of the game. This would help with a lot of it, but it takes some getting used to, and I haven't used it yet. I only have one printed out, and I probably will just go to, because I hate paying the cost to print things. Yes, I have my own printer, but there's still a cost, right? But I have a lot of extra index cards. I may end up starting to sketch out the information on them, because again, I forgot about this sucker completely. Robotic Explorer support limit goes up by 1 for the Japanese, and for this, it's extra Earth production, which should already be factored in. I'm not sure. It doesn't appear to be, like the starting funds don't include that, but there's not an economic phase, so it's not really an issue. Okay, what else? Well, otherwise, we have the abilities here. Subtract 2 from the cost of technology if you're the first to develop it. I've gone over this. Recall rate reduced. Roll an extra die for the space telescope exploration. That's when you have less than when you have a remainder outside of the 10s. Tech cost -4 for other people who have developed it. Normally that's -3 for each other person. Increase resource, by the way, it's possible for techs to just become free. Increase resource production by bases by 1. Malfunction rate -2. That's a big deal, right? It's not your engine failure, which would be huge. It's your malfunction rate, but still, that starts out at what, 50%. So even though it's a small amount, it can save, well, it saved my ass once. Equatorial launch site, this one's really minor. Launch vehicles can carry an extra resource when launching from Earth. So most of these are pretty limited. This one's kind of neat. This one's a big deal. The crew recall. That means they can operate for longer periods. This one's very nice. For the US especially, because they have so many techs already. But the whole thing is, these are all pretty minor abilities. You have to invest in the things that you really want to focus on. These aren't that big either. It's the techs that are where you get a lot. And where do you get the tech? You get it from exploration, etc. Let's look at these. U.S. starts with best technology and excellent ships. Get out there, explore and colonize. Try to maintain your lead if you can. Okay. Russia, your strength and resource transport and robust crews. You may want to build a space station right away with the Kuiper and drop a research station there for free tech. A supply station to refuel your ships, and maybe even a few settlements for their trade and production. You also have a great cargo ship from the start, the Renda. We looked at that. But remember, that can't build a base. But you can save supply and fuel savings since it has no exploration value. It can't do anything that needs to be unreserved. Launching Renda on an LV2 will let you stock up on your bases on the cheap, especially once you get reusable launch. Europe, you have the best research and space telescopes. Your RE are top-notch, but your CV are also among the best, so you'll probably want to adopt a balanced approach. Japan, you have the best ships, but they're also the most expensive. You'll want to choose quality over quantity and aim to reduce your already low malfunction rate. Flood the solar system with robots and try to establish a technological lead over your rivals, but don't forget bases and crew vehicles. One good Japanese ship is worth 3 from another faction, right? Probably not in combat. China, you can support more ships than most and don't have to worry as much about falling behind because you can always reverse engineer technologies you don't have. You have the best military position, so don't let anyone push you around. Even the threat of force can make your opponents look over their shoulder. In Asia, your strengths are production and trade, so build bases early and often. You can support the most ships and bases, and yours are cheap. Swarm the solar system with as many ships as you can. Quantity has a quality all its own. South America and Africa, your strengths are diplomacy and trade, so make lots of friends and profit from them. Your ships are average, but you can build lots of them. Build bases and use your equatorial launch sites to stock them up rapidly. Okay. So that gives you some broad ideas there. Let's actually start. So on the first scenario, on the campaign scenario, I think it tells you where you start, but I'm not sure. It doesn't. Somewhere it tells you where you actually start, and I don't know if I want to find that. Essentially, you start with the movement phase. Let's see. Maybe I'm getting this out of the having read the stupid examples of play. The game begins in 2030 with the movement phase. Well, that's probably where I caught that. I am not actually sure that that is stated anywhere other than there. Is it a rule? I don't know. But the example certainly indicates you're not doing an economic phase, and the ships available indicate that a build and service phase wasn't done. So I will say that I'm going to take it as a roll. That's where I saw it. It may be somewhere else. Okay. So this is fairly simple. The first thing we do in movement is we drop all the ships on the transfer boxes. Is this where I have to worry about which direction? No. Okay. So everybody slides down. This is not in a transfer box. One box. Passage of time for things already plotted. And somebody asked, hey, are all these factions on the Earth? Yes, they're all on the Earth to begin with. However, they have a bunch of ships already out there. There's no bases, and nothing is further out there that's crewed other than the Orion, which is heading to Mars. The next thing is regular movement. Now, we do this in, it's actually here, order by initiative choice. So I've got the initial initiative set up here. I didn't have that originally. I followed the setup ordering. I would rather have these on the board as they are. That way, at least for the beginning of the game, I've got everybody in the right order, even though there was a little expense. So let's look for U.S. things. The Feynman, that can't go anywhere. It's sitting in orbit. The Lowell is sitting in orbit. The Orion is here in a flyby box. It has the opportunity to move, and there's nothing that's outside transfer boxes on any other thing, so there's no choices to make. What about the Orion? Well, so here's what we do. We look here. We're looking to get to Triton. Triton, that's Titan. Triton. Triton's out here on Neptune. That's not somewhere this crewed vehicle can go. We're also interested in Hygeia. Hygeia is, I'm getting a lot of glare here, is off the asteroid belt. That's further out than I can go. So what do I want to do with the Orion? Well, let's look at my search values. I've got a 6 here and 4s here. I am going to go to Mars. In order to do that, I have to roll an engine failure check. Remember, it's a crewed vehicle, so it subtracts its size off the engine failure. Base is 5%, we're down to 3%. I don't think there are any modifiers. And I roll a 0.5, and it's a real 0.5, not like a 95 that looks like 0.5 because it's got a 0 on there. Yeah, I really have trouble with these intended for percentile dice, both same color design. That means there's no malfunction, and I made it. That is the only North American movement. I'll mark that they've gone for this phase. I go to Russians. I work my way down through the Russians. I got to be careful. The Russians have the Clipper here. Is that what it is? Clipper? Clipper? I don't know. I'm going to keep thinking about that in the way. This orbiter has to sit here, nothing out in the far reaches. So what can I do with the Clipper, or Clipper? I could go off and search the moon and the near-Earth orbits. Or I could do what the game kind of suggests is, let's build us a base. Why do I want the base? Well, let's look at what the... So the scenario, the play notes send this up with some materials in order to build a base. And I did that the first time I played. So here, why build launch vehicles? This is the problem that I have. You're going to need launch vehicles to ship materials up to that space station. So you're going to need them no matter what. I'm not really sure about anything except for that stocking up ships. Well, let's see what Russia wants. Russia wants Saturn, and we know where Hygeia is. It's not too far away. Saturn's too far away for me to be doing much about. This ship has the capacity to carry 2 stuff, though. If I'm sending it up, I might as well build that stuff. Okay, there is a cost to building bases, though, beyond just the materials, which is that you have a limited number of bases you can supply. And that's kind of where the problem is. So I'm going to spend 2 of my 5 megabucks and build 2 supply, which is the base cost. I will send this up on the rocket, up into Earth orbit, because that's the only place that I can build a base right now. And I make a roll. Actually, I don't think that's true. I think I can build bases here. There's very little reason to. Isn't there? They're more expensive to begin with. They're worth a little bit more. Okay. So 66, I make it up with no problem. CV2 with its cargo capacity of 2 is now in Earth orbit, and it's carrying the cargo. This is not reusable. I don't have that tech yet, so it's gone. It's going to cost me $3 billion to rebuild that launch vehicle. What's nice though is this could carry 2 resources up, or it could carry this, which could carry 6 resources up. So I have a way of creating better transport, and that's basically what they're talking about. I've got a cheaper way to get materials up into space. So we'll do that. Quick scan, orbiter. This is telescope, not going anywhere. And then we're out in the outer reaches where nothing's happening yet. Nothing on Earth. I don't see anything that the Europeans can do during movement. China. Okay, nothing during movement, but I want to do that during exploration probably. I don't want to waste a movement roll. I'm sitting on the moon, good enough. Or in moon orbit, depending on how you want to look at it. I remember something about CBs not being able to build bases. Oh, they need an exploration value to build bases. Yeah, that's what it is. Because I sent up, I guess it was the Russian one, to build a base, and you can't do that because I had a failure on the launch last time. No other Chinese out there. We're good. Asian. We have an orbiter. That's not going anywhere. We have the Prius. What do we do with that? Okay, so this is kind of interesting. I can't go out here, so I'm going to just be exploring the near Earth orbit, I guess. Okay, I can do that. It's not too exciting. I don't know what that ship's up to. And nothing else. Japan. I don't think Japan has anything deployed that can do a thing at this point in the game. And South America has an orbiter. No, that's not theirs. It has a rover over here, and that's it. Okay. So we are now done with, let's work our way through the sequence of play. The movement phase. We're in the combat phase. Nobody's got any ships with weapons on it, so at this point, that's going to be these triangles here. So we're not going to see combat until somebody starts building stuff. And now we're at the exploration phase. I'm going to take a little break because it's going to be another series of die rolls and such not. But I want to show you some of the base mechanisms on this first turn. Okay, time for the exploration. Oh, what do we do? Well, again, this is in initiative order, and that's important because you want to be the first person to get the chance to explore things that are higher valued. It could be a little negative, which is to say you might not get the last word that turn on the world card chosen, but in general, you want to do this in initiative order. Okay, so let's work our way through the US stuff. We got an orbiter here. All right. So if I want to search Venus, it's got an exploration of 6 plus 1 is 7. I don't think I have anything that modifies that. And I basically have to do this, have to check the tech tree, the policy tree, and the individual thing fairly regularly at the beginning of stuff. Okay, so what did we say? We have a tech of 7, and I think we have a 50% failure rate on that orbiter there. Okay, 9 did not find anything. It's higher than 7. 41 sounds dangerous. Let me just make sure I've got it right. Again, you know, I got to look up a lot of things. I just played it yesterday, but the numbers fall out of my brain very quickly. They'll get fitted in better. Robotic is 30%. Sorry, 50% is what? The fatiguing, I think. Yeah. Okay. So 30%, so 47 is good. We do not exhaust, but we didn't find anything. That's this one. We keep going. There's a U.S. telescope. I leave telescopes for last. I'm actually doing this in the wrong order. I should be starting down at the other end, and I'll explain why in a moment. The Orions here at Mars. So this has an 11. This is crude exploration. There's a lot of chance that this just, gets reversed. But let's take a look and see what we find. Okay. 9 is not less than 1, so I get 1 shit. I have a 38. There's no way that I'm going to avoid depleting the Orion. But I do get a biology chip. We look at it, it's a 3. A 3, the sum of our chits is 3 or higher. So, we'll put that there. We have successfully discovered a world. Or discovered, not the world, but we've successfully depleted the world is what they call it. Okay, well, it's not a personal mission or anything like that. We get a world card. We should only get 1. Let me make sure. There's no oh wait, there's something there. Is that a lab? It's not a spectrometer. A lab, I think, meant that I got 2 dice. Oops. Maybe I get 2 chits. No biggie if that's the case. Okay, so we look for where they give us that information. And notably, we got lots of information here. It's not on here. This is just for the planets. So I have to go hunting for the ship information, which is here. It's a mobile lab. Mobile lab. What does that do for me again? Yeah. And again, I gotta look it up. Well, I don't know where the fuck it is. Maybe it's under the search. Look for crude exploration. Mobile lab gives me an extra die, so I'll roll another die. And I get a 1 on that, so I actually get a second chip out of here, which is good. And I actually had to show both of those. We also went into reserve, so I get another biology chip, which is a lot. We're doing pretty good. And now, what do we do? Lost the page. It's in both booklets, so I should just be on the search table. Okay, so I draw my world card. I only get 1 of these. M-class asteroid on a rocky world. Mars is an ice rocky planet. So rocky is one of the categories. So I could place this. Do I want to? Do I not? Well, currently I'm the only person who can colonize Mars. So we'll place it. It does create some exploration bonuses here. I'm not quite sure where you put things. Which, maybe I don't want to do. +2 for orbiter flyby. Other people are going to be there. One other thing I have to do is I have to move chits. Move my pile of chits. And let's see. It was a 6. So now I've got a 0 in there, which is the thing. I've got to put a 5 there. I've got to kind of leave that a little off to the side, this big chit, so that I can see it's a biology a little bit more easily. Yes, it's written here, but that helps You understand? I'm allowed to search for life. Okay, so the life is a 12% basis. There's no real bonus here. Now remember, I didn't have to put this here. I don't think it's a particularly helpful chit, so I'm okay with leaving it there. Okay, 12% search for life. I don't think there's any modifiers. 38, that doesn't get me anything. And I get a politics marker, which again, I really ought to have this pile underneath. It's a lot less useful. There we go. That was easy. And I'll put this over here with my pile of goodies that I just found. So I got a lot, but I did expend by Crow. Going further for the US. Okay. So I have to look, I have these exposed this way so that I can see what nationalities there are everywhere. I've got a flyby out here. Now, this is on the 7. So if I were to do a search here, I would be doing 3 plus 7, or maybe 8, is 11. But I'd subtract 9 from that. So I'd only have a 2 chance. I'd have to make my failure roll, the 30% failure or whatever. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Let's get a little closer before we make a roll. What I should have done was started here at the very end and worked my way this way, because if something is a flyby that's doing a search, it gets put then into one of these approach boxes, and I can't search again immediately with the same flyby at that distance. So I tended to move this way. I got something left though that I haven't checked for. Yeah, this thing's almost useless. I got a telescope. Well, what do I want to look for? I want to look for big things. I can't go out to Alpha Centauri. There's nothing here. Oh, here it is. Where Sedona. Okay, this is a 9, Eris and Dynoma. That would be going for a physics check. This is going for a physics check. Does it make a real difference which one that I want to look for? They both have a high life value. It really doesn't matter as far as I can see. So I'm going to go out here because I've got the bonus towards getting towards there right now. So that's a 9, which is half because I'm using a telescope. For 5, 6, 7. I get a success. I get a 50. 50 is below my malfunction rate, which is 30% for these things. So I get a physics chip. I get a 2. Now, even if this had been a 3, well, a 3 could get me a depletion. What it couldn't get me is a mission success. But I could find out interesting things about the planet with a depletion. Okay, and I believe it has to be exactly a 3 and not a 3 or higher, which kind of disturbs me, but whatever. I should look that up. All right, so that's the US search phase. Now we're going to do the same with every other nation. You know what I'm going to do? Well, I'm just thinking that I'm eating up a lot of video here on stuff that's kind of repetitive. Let's take a look at the Ruskies first. We'll probably not make everything. Flyby, I'm too far away to really want to even count it. An orbiter can't search. I got an orbiter here. There's not much I can do other than look at Mars, so I might as well. +2 orbiter explorations. That brings this up to 7, 8, 9. It's pretty good. Do I have any modifiers? Shit, I don't know. I don't think so. But again, it's hard to remember all the different places where there's information. Okay. Not a good roll. An okay roll. I'm still there. I didn't find shit. Keep going down. I got Russians here. Now, if I search with these, I could become fatigued, and that means I don't get to build my base. So I'm going to hold off. My chance of finding anything isn't that good, and the fatigue chances are high. And we make our way down. I am going to only come back when I have something interesting to show during the exploration. I think I've shown a couple of the exploration rolls, and from now on, for this particular aspect of the game, I'm going to kind of rely more on the narrative rather than a step-by-step, hey, what the hell am I doing? Of course, less than a minute later, I come up with, yeah, I want to show this. Okay, so we haven't done a flyby check out here yet. I've got one of them. At least I don't think we have. So the EU is using the Da Vinci. Let's take a look at what the EU wants here. They want Callisto. Callisto's back here with Jupiter, so I'm not worried about that. I'll do this with... Oh, I am on the Da Vinci. Yeah, Callisto's attached to Jupiter. I really want to find something here, so I'm going to take a shot with that. So I am going to be exploring at the 5, which isn't necessarily the best place I can be. Plus 2 is 7. Minus 1 brings me to 6. I don't have a probe or anything like that. I couldn't use a probe from here, so that's okay. Probes on flybys seem like a great idea until you actually try them. Okay, and unfortunately I rolled a 17, which means a malfunction, but I did get a success. Callisto is biology. I pull a 2, which isn't going to do me any good. I mean, it helps, but... now, I also broke my ship, which gets me an engineering tech. Every time something goes wrong, you get something good out of it. And now this just shows up where I can build it again. It's an RE, so I can build it, without any real restrictions. Telescope I'm going to hold off on. I got an orbiter down there. Okay, Mercury's a little easier to look at than the Sun. So let's look at Mercury, because I don't have any real, oh, I want physics and not engineering at this moment. Both are good. What I'd really like to get is the crewed vehicles, which is physics, so it's fun. Okay, so we're looking at 9, no modifiers, but we're in a high radiation zone, which increases our damage chance. That's success. 48, well, 30 plus 10% for the high radiation doesn't break me. Let me just make sure. And so I get an engineering on Mercury. Nothing too useful. Okay. EU, and then I'll do the telescope. Once I start on the video, it's like, oh, I can't stop. I'll go for deep space. It's the same total. 5 plus 2 is 7. Okay, I survive, but I get nothing. And I'll be back in a bit. A little bit more detail than we'll get to eventually, but China just went. They had some issues. Crew, too tired. And they lost their flyby around Mercury. Now, the radiation doesn't count once you're out here, but once you get into the flyby box, you can see it's already available. That's a little weird, isn't it? No, I thought the radiation reached Venus. In which case, if that was the case, they probably would have it in the little boxes as well. In both cases, we lost something. We lost the, this thing's tired and has to go home, and the flyby ended up breaking. And in neither case did we find anything, but we got the consolation prizes in both. And that's it for the Chinese. Asians, or Central Asians, managed to get nothing until we checked in, not there. Why do I have a physics? I'm looking for what I searched for. Asia. Yeah, it was this orbiter down here on Venus. Checked this. I got a successful 3. A 3 is definitely a depletion. So we have depleted Venus, and we follow. Again, I have to look at this every single time. Asia is looking for Europa. I didn't even really look to see if I made a check here. Yeah, I could have been searching for Europa, and I think I was looking at Io. Oops. Okay, so that's not what I'm interested in Hygeia. A lot of different little things you got to keep in mind and balance in your head at all times. So that didn't happen. I get a world card. I only get 1 from the orbiter. Okay, world type is rocky. We have a rocky volcanic planet. So I could place this. It increases the spectrometer. I think that only applies if you have a spectrometer. It'll give you +2 to the exploration. Do I really care about that? Is there any reason I want this to be here? I don't think so. Now, there's one exception. If I draw the 0, if I'm doing the final depletion on a planet, it almost automatically gets a special world card. But I don't think I particularly want to bonus this planet with this world card. I'm just going to dump that. It doesn't help my explorations. And we keep going. I'm still allowed to search for life, even though I didn't put the card down. And that's a 1% chance in Venus. Gee, I wouldn't think that. I don't need the red dye in this. Well, not too bad, but... And the final thing is I get my politics marker. For getting that. A collection of errata and fact-type questions that showed up. And I was bothered enough because I just threw a 5 on a robotic exploration by the Japanese from where? Certainly not that one. I think on Mercury. Got kind of lost where I am. This flyby did a successful search and I drew the 5 and I'm like, you know, that just seems so weird. So I did look that up, and indeed the intention was that it's 3 or more. There's quite a large list. May have to go down with my rule book and start making corrections. Unfortunately, it's a glossy rule book, which means this is a problem from my view, with a lot of the modern companies, Compass and GMT being the biggest among them. But, you know, honestly, not the gamers, but the folk that own them. Can't remember who. again, my, MMP is printing on glossy paper too. It's just cheaper to print on glossy paper. And people don't seem to complain about it, but I fucking hate it because you can't write with pencil with glossy paper. Pen doesn't even take very well. You basically have to use an indelible permanent marker like a Sharpie or something like that to write it. And what that means is you can't just write little notes to yourself. That's fine for corrections if they don't get changed again, which often happens. So it's actually something I really kind of dislike about modern printing that's happening. The Gamers is like one of the few companies out there that still prints on, they print on fantastic paper. I think Clash of Arms does too. I'm not sure because I think Dresd was actually on glossies, so they may have switched over. But yeah, it's very, very much easier to do modifications. Anyway, what the truth is here is that, yes, I have had a success. And so I get a draw. We did not have a malfunction. Is it a hydrogen world? I highly doubt it. So, I'm sorry, is it a gas giant? And definitely not. So this one, I don't have a choice on. I must discard that. However, I do get the other values still, even though I did. I get to search for life on Mercury. That can't be too likely. 2%, that's not bad. Ooh, I'm getting some nice low rolls. Just not good enough. And then I get my politics marker for that. Looking at this planet card that I put on Mars, it was illicit or illegal. Rocky with minimal gravity. This is just low gravity. So that actually couldn't have been played. I just threw another one though. Ridge terrain for rocky or icy. Do I want to play this? That's a good question. I mean, I don't think I'm likely to get to Mars with the Spaniards or the South American and Africans. Spain is part of the EU. So, stuck in my conquistador phase still. So, I think I'll just discard it. This isn't really helping me at all. I'm not expecting any crude exploration for me in the near future. Got one of these suckers, and then let's just do the search for life. Everything else is kind of unimportant. It's a 12% search for life, which I did not get. I'll get the rest of the stuff there. That got us through the exploration phase, and now we're in trade and base phase. There are no bases on the game. I am not going to do that then. However, I can build and expand bases. There is one person who can do this. Over here, the Ruskies are going to build themselves a base. And we'll build the Mir space station. And I can put this there. I spend the 2 to build it. I have to make a fatigue check though. And 17 doesn't sound good. So that's reserved. And I get myself a bio draw as I learn how people operate in space better. That's the only aspect of that. The game has not ended. We're not in 2145 or whatever. And the turn marker advances. Okay. Geez. I think we're going to push the second turn out here too, because I think we can get through that on this video. The turns don't take all that long each. There's a fair number of them, there's no question. They say the game's 8 hours for experienced players. It's going to take me longer, especially with videoing, and obviously it's also going to take, I take big breaks between turns and between actions whenever I want. So it's going to take me probably a week or 2 to get this thing completed. But that's just the nature of how things go. So this is the first turn gone through. Not a whole lot happens in the first turn, a little bit of exploration. We'll see. More starts happening next turn because we can buy ships. That makes things complicated for me though. So remember, now I've got a ship at a base. I've got ships that are going to be on Earth. It's kind of hard to keep track. Again, it's that looking at everything part. It's not just the tech tree, the policy tree, and all these, but it's also when I'm looking for ships, I can't just look on the map. I got to look in the control boxes and stuff like that to see what's going on. Now, one nice thing is when I look on the map, I see a base, and I'm like, oh, okay. I hope. Starting turn 2 here in Stellar Horizons. The first thing, you skip the economic phase. That's once every decade. The first thing that I hit is build and service ships. Well, this is a place where you kind of start making your determinations. What am I doing? Where am I heading? And it's done in reverse initiative order, which is important because you get to see what everybody else is kind of at least partially planning. So I take a look, and I'm going to take an example of 1 or 2 nations, but not go into too much detail. So South America and Africa wants to go to Uranus and Hygeia. I don't know where Hygeia is. I'm not very good at knowing all my planets and little planetoids. Again, you got to do a lot of looking in this game to find crap. Here it is. Okay, this is out on the main asteroid belt. That's kind of on the way. A flyby makes sense. I'm not going to be able to do anything other than a robotic exploration. I don't have CVs that can get out to this stuff. So let's see what I got. I got a flyby here. That's going to cost me 3 billion credits to put it into space. I could be paying attention to my support limits here. Certainly I can't exceed them like by 4 is the problem, but I don't have that much shit out there, I'm pretty sure. But let's see, support limits for the REs, you know, I have a couple out there. So let's take a look at what I got. I got a flyby out there. That might be out for a long time. I got another flyby there. Wow. That could be hitting Uranus anyway. And a rover there. So I've got 3 out there already. I'm going to have to pay a few bucks for each extra one. I think it's worth it though. Chances are in 10 years, these are going to get destroyed. And I only have to meet the support limits for payment at the beginning of each decade. The maximum limits is a little different. So I'm going to buy this thing. 3, do I want a probe for it? That's an interesting question. Putting a probe on a flyby is kind of iffy because when I hit here, I can launch the probe and get a pretty good search, but I can get multiple searches. You know, this is going to be a 2. Hygeia puts me to a 6. That's not terribly good. Geez. See, I can't launch the probe in the flyby boxes. That's the problem. The expense of the probe, it's only 1. We'll buy it. So that gets me to 4. Now I have to launch it. How fast do I want to get there is the question. And it's a good question, actually. This is a long distance, but I got other flybys. I got another flyby heading out that way, so okay. This one is going to take me 3 turns to get to. I'm not going to have a modifier for speed. I don't have the special drive or anything, so I could drop that to 2 turns to the 2 box by buying this. And that'll cost me a total of, what is my number? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll do that. We'll spend 7. We get 18 back. 10, 15. We'll call it 19 back because I got a buck in there still. And yeah, you don't need to see this. But yeah, so that's the thinking on that I played with, you know, their idea. Let's take a look at Japan's. It's going to be similar. So I could go to Hygeia. I'm also interested in Vesta. Vesta, I'm pretty sure is fairly far out. Okay, not as far as I thought, apparently. Okay, pretty sure it's not around Earth. There we go. It's on the asteroid belt. Okay. Okay, so this is really interesting. Here, an orbiter sounds really desirable. Again, I can count up what I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 REs already out there. This would be my last one. I think it's worth doing because I have nothing on that asteroid belt. So I'm going to send an orbiter and a probe. Is this the best orbiter I got? Yep. Okay. So that's going to cost me 4, 5. Do I want to get it there in a hurry? Sure. 6, 7, $8 again, and that'll get me to 20. Asia has the capacity to build CV vehicles. So I'm like, excellent. I can do something other than what I can do with, these robotic vehicles. Great. Well, here's the problem. I look at my CVs2s, that's all I can build. And I got one that can haul cargo. It does not have an exploration value. I can't build a base. I was hoping I would be able to put a base together, but yeah, it's not possible with this. So, I'm not really sure. I certainly don't want a lot of CVs kicking around. So I think I'm stuck in the same thing, trying to come up with some kind of robotic solution. Look at China. China has MIMOS. MIMOS is up here. I've got an orbiter already set up to go for that. I'm going to just go searching for that. So, I'm going to look at CVs. Now, this one here, it's fine. Not really that exciting. But I have the Jinlong. This one can carry goods. So let's put this in play instead. That's going to cost me $8 to put up. Plus, it's a CV2, so I need an LV2. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11. There's nothing else I need to buy for that, but I need to buy materials. Cost me 2 supplies. I'm at 11 right now. Call that 12, 13 to build a base, which I could build on the moon or in the asteroid belt. Okay. I'm allowed to go there. So now I'm at 11, 13 bucks. And I might as well carry one other material for that base. Why? Because it's expensive to haul stuff off Earth, and I might as well haul 3 things up. Okay. So that 11 bucks, well, what do I want on my base? One thing I would like to do is to be able to produce. Now these can both produce ore. What's ore good for? Ore, I believe, is good for repairing. Let's see. Yeah, repairing ships costs ore, but unreserving costs supply and fuel, neither of which I produce here. Well, maybe the best thing I can do in that case is to start building a refinery. But since activating ships costs supply and fuel, I'm going to just throw an extra supply. So I was at 13. This is going to make it 14 bucks to carry all this stuff. Now I'm risking extra stuff because of this, but that's okay. One thing that I consider with this that I really kind of dislike about High Frontier that this does not suffer from with its fixed counter mixes and tech tree and such not, is the cards in High Frontier aren't fixed. You don't have access to them forever. You can't make multiple copies of the same card. You can't say, hey, up the production, of this kind of rocket or anything like that. Now, here you have the fixed counter mix, so you can't say, you know what, I really want more of these. I would like a game that gave you more opportunity, and apparently I saw something that the original design of this involved constructing ships. But I would like something that gave you more opportunity to choose what your counter mix is than this gives. That's the negative side compared to High Frontier. The positive side, though, is you don't just forget how to do anything. Now, it is the case that the U.S. space program kind of forgot how to build big rockets and is actually incapable of doing it anymore. So there's some argument for the High Frontier model. But it's simply not the case. That technology is available and could be reacquired without having to try to steal it from somebody else or find it in some deck somewhere or something. It's just a little, it's a weird mechanism in High Frontier. Anyway, I'm on the Europeans who are unable to do anything crude, so what is their interesting thing? Their interesting thing is they can travel a little faster. They're not only building a flyby, but they're also building themselves another telescope to throw up there. Chances are they're going to get enough failure rolls. What do they have here? Yeah, that doesn't help them. I hope they can do everything. Again, all this counting out here. 1, 2, 3. Looks like I've got 3 out right now. I'll be going to 4, 5. That's within the +4 limitation that you always have to be within. Russia, though, is interesting. Russia has a base Mir with a damaged or a tired crew on it. Okay, what do I do? Well, I'd like to bring crap up to make that base bigger. Now, for servicing a CV, unreserve it, I need a supply station. Okay, so that's what we'll try to build. So a supply station, supplies, will cost me 1 ore and 1 fuel. Okay. So I want to send 1 ore and 1 fuel up. That's 2. And then I need to also send 1 supply and 1 fuel. Shit. Okay, I did this completely wrong. So I need 2 fuels, 1 supply, 1 ore. Okay, that's 4 materials. Now, I could send 4 materials up with a couple of these rockets. Each of these can carry 2, so that would cost me 6. I think I'm allowed an LV3, so I could actually send 3 of them, 3 of them up for 4. But 3 doesn't really help me. On the other hand, shit. On the other hand, I have this monstrosity, which only requires a rocket 2 to lift it. And now I got more crap. Okay, what is this? What can I haul? Well, I can haul 6 things with this. 6 things. It can be reserved when I build it. Remember, it's not able to do anything except haul stuff, which kind of disturbs me, like, I don't know. Because it feels like this is the level at which you want it, which means I get to reduce the cost by 2. So this will cost me 5, 6. It's actually a supply and a fuel, but so 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 to send that up. But I got 2 more capability there. Let's send more stuff up. Another amount to undo, or maybe we want to go for a research station. How much does a research station cost me? Small research, same cost. Crap. I don't know what I'm doing now. Son of a bitch. I don't know what I need. I don't know the numbers I need. So what I need to build is a supply station. That's an iron and a fuel. I bet it's 2 iron. And a research station will cost me an iron and a supply. And recovering the ship that I've got up there will cost me a supply and a fuel. So there's my 6 production that I need to put here. So it's 5, 6, 12, 13, 14, 15 to launch this whole pile. It's a lot of money, but I got a decent amount. Now the question is, do I want to launch something else? What's going on out at Saturn where I don't see much? I've got a flyby going by Saturn. I think I'll hold off a turn, see what happens, because if I get my Saturn successes, not just one turn, probably a couple of turns, if I get Saturn successes, I don't need to get this. This is one of the places where the game has some serious luck at the beginning of the game. So for example, China with the MIMOS, hey, I've got an orbiter that can go right there that's in the setup. So through my wisdom, I was able to, you know, fall into a starting position that matches the mission objective, right? Somebody was planning well. There's enough luck in the game that I wouldn't worry too much about, hey, somebody's got an edge on them starting-wise. The North Americans have an edge on everybody starting-wise, no matter what you want to look at. This game is not designed to start you out in a balanced position. And that's kind of important to keep in mind. You're not looking at something where everybody is kind of equal. All right, let me try to figure out what the U.S. is going to do, because again, the Russians are going to reserve their cash. And this thing, I'll just leave this up at Mer. I'll repair it. That way I don't have to pay shipping costs up and down each time. And this monster can haul my 6 materials this time, but it can do it multiple times. I can re-enter Earth and send that up, you know, to resupply my base regularly. U.S., they have a big chit out at Triton. Now, yes, I could go through Hygeia, but you know what? I want to just go for Triton itself. I don't have anything heading that way that's nearly there or anything like that. Triton's way out here near Neptune. It's going to take me forever to get things there. So I'm going to boost a rover, and the Pathfinder is a very good rover, with a probe. And remember, these boosts haven't happened yet. They happen during movement. This is just my pre-planning at the beginning of a turn. And I'm going to use an LV3, which I can do because I have this technology. The CV2 and LV3 technology comes together. The reason for the LV3, all I need is an LV1, but I want to move as fast as I can out there. And I'm thinking about, hey, how much does it cost me to do this? I may decide I switch back, but let's take a quick look. What is the, well, yeah, let's look. So from Earth out to Neptune is an 11-point jump. And LV3 gets me down to 9. And 9 at 0.9 gets me 8. Okay. If I was faster, or if I took a less of a booster, it would end up costing me more. So this is worthwhile. All right, so I've got 4, 9, 10 that I have to spend to make this boost. That's a pretty expensive pile of money. US doesn't have a whole lot of cash, but you know, the booster for an extra buck is the only kind of iffy thing about it, because that rover's so good. But I'm like, an extra buck for one much better roll, let's go for it. I'm using a rover because I'm interested in the one planet. I'll just try to get, you know, my bonus off of it. And I can keep exploring it after I, you know, even after I get whatever bonus I get off of Triton. It means I'm ignoring this other one, but you know what? I don't want to expend more of my limited money when I might be clearing this within this decade and preparing another mission. And yes, I'm going way out there, right? This is going to be the 8. Maybe I do want to explore something else, because I'm probably not going to clear it this decade, or it's going to be the very end of the decade because of the amount of time it's going to take me to get out there, even with that big booster. Maybe send a flyby out. I really don't like spending all this extra cash, because what might I need is kind of the problem. What might I need with the US value here? I have an orbiter there. I don't have a lot of spaceships out here. I have this flyby. That's going to take me forever to get anywhere. I have my CV, which is reserved, and that's going to have to move back. Yeah, I'm going to keep my money because I need to reboost that thing. One thing I can't do, which kind of makes me a little unhappy, is I can't go be repaired at someone else's base. I can trade with someone else's base. I'm not allowed to go dock in there and maybe pay them some money. Again, that's the kind of stuff that you're allowed to do in something like High Frontier, which is a lot looser about like the inter-player negotiations, I feel like, but a lot more, I don't know. I don't even know what I was going to say. All right. What I'm going to do here, because this video is a little over an hour already, we have made it through a complete turn for the first turn, but the first turn doesn't include the shipbuilding side. By including the shipbuilding side, we've basically made it through the entire cycle that a turn would take. And it kind of makes sense to make your decision-making and planning kind of after you see what happens. So in a sense, putting this at the end of the turn would make sense, except for, hey, it would be nice to have that money right away at the beginning after a decade. So we've done essentially a full turn of play. Yes, I could probably squeeze in another quick turn of movement and everything, but you know what? I would rather keep the videos kind of shorter, and you know, what we're going to probably see is me, you know, doing maybe 2 more videos for this first decade. That's kind of my projected hope, because we're not going to be going into the same details on the decision making. I probably just float back and say, oh, here's what happened, if I can remember what's going on. If I can't remember what the fuck's going on, like, you know, during an entire exploration phase or something like that, I'm going to be in and out a lot more like I have been, and that's going to be more painful for everybody, I think. All right, but more detailed look at the play. So we'll send this one up.